The future of weight loss injectables and weight loss medication.
So with retatrutide or triple G, they're showing that it is a little bit more effective than Mounjaro even. Instead of being limited to about 20-25% weight loss, heading up to the 28-30% weight loss, there are at least 150 different peptide hormones which regulate appetite and metabolism.
Wow.
Adding in these different hormones, they're hoping they get to a magic formula where it works really well. It works as good as surgery. Might lose my livelihood over this.
Welcome to this week's episode of Keep It Off with me, Mel Harris. Our wonderful guest, Mr. Shaw Summers, is with us today. I'm going to welcome him in just so that today we can talk about basically the future of weight loss injectables and weight loss medication, because it's evolving all the time. We've had Mounjaro around for a while. We've had Wegovy around. We've seen the disappearance really of Saxenda, more or less. And thankfully now Ozempic is being restricted to only be given to diabetics, which I think is a good thing personally. But sure, hi, welcome back. Thank you very much.
Hi Mel, nice to be here and nice to be put on the spot again.
I love
me on
it.
My toes.
It's what I live for, sure, putting you on the spot. But yeah, I want to talk to you today about obviously the weight loss drugs that are probably headed our way. We did an episode and we spoke about the pill and that could well be with us for a trial later on in this year, really, 2026, September. But what else is new? What else is coming? Are there more developments in the industry? And also, are there more manufacturers? Because we've really only got two main manufacturers at the moment, haven't we?
Yeah, we have. The future is looking really quite promising in terms of weight loss medications. Not only have the two main manufacturers, that's the Danish Novo Nordisk and the Americans Eli Lilly, who are the big front runners in this, evolving and developing their own drugs. That's for Novo Nordisk, that'll be semaglutide or Wegovy Ozempic. And for Eli Lilly, that's Mounjaro and Orforglipron, Fundeo, as they're going to call it.
And that's the pill, isn't it, that's due to come out?
That's the pill that's coming out, hopefully, towards the end of the summer in the UK. But then you've got new injectable drugs coming out and further medications. So we have retatrutide. They haven't given it a brand name yet. It's known as triple G. So that's the next one on from Mounjaro from Eli Lilly. So Mounjaro is 2 hormones. Retatrutide is 3 hormones in one, and it's thought to have a slightly bigger effect, and that hopefully will come towards the end of the year. It's in evaluation studies in the States at the moment, and again they will undoubtedly, the manufacturers will look to launch it in a marketplace that they can saturate first before they send it out to everybody.
What are the studies in America currently showing with this particular injectable?
So with retatrutide or triple G, they're showing that it is a little bit more effective than Mounjaro even. So it will, instead of being limited to about 20-25% weight loss, heading up to the 28-30% weight loss, which is almost equivalent to some of the minor surgical procedures that we still do for weight loss surgery. Now, we've yet to see the whole side effect profile of these medications, and that's going to take a little bit of time to come to the fore, because adding in an extra hormone will add in an extra aspect to their side effect profile and to the long-term acceptability profile. But again, this is a new drug, and we will look forward to using it as part of our treatment strategy for people who struggle with weight issues.
Yeah. What's the third hormone that this one targets?
So in addition to GLP-1 and to GIP, the third hormone agonist that's added in is glucagon, which acts to sort of, if you like, counterbalance insulin, but also does help you in terms of satiety. in addition to that medication, there's another medication coming out called CagriSema, which adds in an enzyme or a medication peptide called amylin. But I think there's going to be 3 or 4 new injectables and tablet medications within the next 12 months coming from other manufacturers as well, which will just add into the mix. And it in the end, it'll be a bit like blood pressure medications. They're all good. They will all work for you, but it depends on which one you want to start with and seeing which one suits your particular circumstances. So there's no right or wrong. There's no best one. It's which one will work for you.
This to me sounds like great news, because if there's suddenly a lot more competition in the marketplace for these injectables, I'm hoping that means the prices will come down.
I'd like to think that would be true. I'm just not entirely sure that that's how we're going to see it play out in the initial few years, because the companies are going to want to recoup the massive costs of bringing a drug to market. And the costs are eye-watering, billions to get a drug to market, to pass all the safety and regulatory requirements, let alone actually making enough stuff and then sending it out in trucks to the various countries that need it. And unfortunately, in order to do that, they've got to charge a lot of money. And so I wouldn't hold my breath about things being cheaper in the first 4 to 5 years of these drugs coming to market. When these drugs come off patent, you'll find that the countries that they come off patent will be able to make the drugs much more cheaply. But that's going to be a good few years before any of these drugs come off patent.
Yeah, because it's the patent that costs the biggest chunk of money.
Well, it's the thing that stops other people doing, we'll make that one as well. And I know that the original, I think Saxenda is now off patent, but you're then back to a drug that wasn't that effective about weight loss, and it's a daily injectable. And I think given the alternatives, not many people are going to plump for that, but it will become very cheap.
Right, yeah. So that could be an option for people that are struggling to pay for Mounjaro, Wegovy, and any other drugs that come along. So these new manufacturers, they're established. I mean, Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk were known huge pharmaceutical companies. They've been around for a long time.
They'll all be big pharmaceutical enterprises, because the reality is, Mel, that only those kind of companies have got the money to put into the R&D to look at these new drugs. And, you might find that it's 1 in 1,000 of the drugs they're looking at will actually come to marketplace. So they put in billions of pounds into research and development to maybe get one drug to market.
Right.
But the rewards of getting that drug to market for an illness like obesity, which affects so many millions of people worldwide, the rewards will be huge, because as we've seen in the UK, Europe and America, the uptake was way beyond their expectations.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you remember when you could actually talk to someone who knew your name, understood your business, and gave you advice you could trust? Well, at Simply Insurance Solutions, that is still who we are and how we work. We work with you to assess your current insurance needs and make sure that you have exactly the right cover. Nothing more, nothing less. With over 40 years of knowledge and experience, our primary objective is to secure the most comprehensive cover that's robust and relevant for you at the most competitive price. Whether it's the increasingly essential cybersecurity, your commercial property, business, or your home, call 01707 291 200 and press 3 and 3. It'll get you through quickly, and you'll be able to book your free, no obligation insurance review. Remember, the gaps in your cover won't show up until it's too late. You've mentioned this injectable that will be coming out that tackles 3 hormones. Again, another one with a name that I cannot pronounce. I just know it begins with an A. But you did say that you're expecting maybe 3, maybe 4 new drugs to hit the market
Yeah.
later this year or next year. Who else or what else are we talking about? Are they all different? Will they all be doing the same
They
thing?
will all be slightly different because clearly they can't just copy
Mm,
Mounjaro.
mm,
They've got to have their enough of a difference to make it different so
mm,
that they can get a patent on it and be able to manufacture it themselves.
mm,
That kind of restriction means that actually, again, it will be a known manufacturer. So I think Roche have got a drug coming out, Amgen have got a drug coming out, and these
mm.
are all big
Big.
pharmaceutical companies, and they're all desperate to get their drugs out there into the marketplace. It's just they've got to go through the regulatory steps and prove that it's safe, prove that it's effective. And even if it's, we all get hung up about what's the percentage weight loss of this drug versus that drug. Life is not as simple as that, because that's the average percentage weight loss. There's some people who will do really well on it and some people who won't do as well as you think. And likewise, on a drug that has a lower average percentage weight loss, there'll be some people who do really well on it,
Mm,
some
mm.
people who don't do so well on it. So please, please, please don't get sort of hung up on, oh, I've got to have that drug because it's got the best percentage weight loss. Because for you, you might have been better off on the other one.
Yes, and I think we've spoken about that in a previous episode where we have actually said, number one, it's not like the dose that you're on, because a lot of people get hung up on, I need the higher dose. It's more about the length of time you're on the particular medication, but also that you need to see a medical professional in this field, simply because it's not up to you to go in and say, I want to be on this medication. It is up to you to go in and say, I want to have help to lose weight. And then it's up to the person you're talking to assess you adequately and tell you what will be the best one for you. And I think that's really important. We have spoken about that in more
Yeah,
detail
and I
previously.
can't emphasize that enough. And I think
Mm,
you're absolutely right, Mel. That, it's a bit like I've got high blood pressure. I'm going to the GP and say, I must have this tablet. Oh, I need treatment for my blood pressure. What do you think will work for me? What's my best option? And it's exactly the same with weight management. And for some people, it'll be one sort of medications. For some people, it might actually be a suggestion towards surgery because it lasts a lot longer than the
mm,
medications and it's a lot more substantial weight loss than the medication. So surgery still outperforms the medications, but clearly there's a risk profile difference, and then there's the durability difference. So for most people who start weight loss medications in at a young age because they've got more than 4 stones to lose, they're going to need to be on it for life, and
mm,
you need to do the maths
yeah.
and say, well, look, it's costing me X amount per month, and I'm going to need this on and off for life. How much is that going to cost me? Whereas I could have an operation, which are very, very safe these days, very effective, and that will actually cost a quarter of the price over the next 10 to 15 years.
Yeah. And one of the biggest cons about being on the medication for life is that with all medications, you build up a resistance to it and eventually they will stop working. So you'd be basically throwing good money after bad, I guess.
That's what a lot of people don't understand, that if they need to be on the medication long term, they will eventually migrate up to the highest dose,
Mm,
or a high dose, which is A, more expensive, and B, will still lead them to becoming tolerized to it. And eventually they'll need to take a break from the medication where, again, that needs to be managed carefully. You don't just stop dead because guess what? You'll be ravenously hungry within
yeah.
a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So you wean off it. And then we put other strategies in place with the expectation that after a break of 6 months, year, you need to go back on it because otherwise you will go back to where you started.
Mm,
And again, like the blood pressure scenario, if I develop high blood pressure and I'm on tablets and the side effects are tolerable, etc., if I decide to have a break from the tablets, guess what's going to happen?
your blood
The blood
pressure
pressure
goes
will
up.
come back. I will need to go back on them at some point,
Yeah.
but okay, I'm having a break from the side effects.
Yeah. Although I think in fairness, you know, you can't really control your blood pressure level other than being overexerted, or if you're doing a
I could
run.
zen.
Yeah, you need to be totally zen. However, the weight going up, it is caused by you coming off the drugs, feeling hungry again, eating more than you were, and potentially eating foods that will lead to weight gain.
Yeah, and we now recognise that the drivers, the subconscious drivers, the metabolic derangement, the problem with your metabolism that makes you gain weight in the first place, tells your brain to go for specific food. So people think, oh, it's just being greedy. Look, they're going eating the cakes. Well, that's because their brain is going, no, not salad, cake. Cake's what you need, because we need the calories, even though manifestly you don't need any more calories on board. But it's that dysregulation, as we call it. It's a proper illness.
Yeah. For everybody listening, we have dealt with all the things that Shaw has just spoken about, literally about weight gain and coming off of the drugs in previous episodes. And I've no doubt we will talk about this again in a future episode. But just going back to the new weight loss drugs that are coming out, the medications, the injectables, you've mentioned one in particular, but you also mentioned companies like Roche. Are they being very closed about what it is they're doing and why they're different to the other companies out there and the drugs that they're producing? Or are they...
Once drugs are being actually trialed clinically in members of the public, we are given pre-alerts of the trial and pre-knowledge, so we know what the drug is, and it's they generally a mix of GLP-1 and another hormone that is responsible. So that there are at least 150 different peptide hormones which regulate appetite and metabolism.
Wow.
So take your pick. So we're really at the very beginning of this field of manipulating metabolic regulation to try and get to understand how it works in the first place, because we still don't really know. It's by adding in these different hormones, they're hoping they get to a magic formula where it works really well. It works as good as surgery. And even as a surgeon who might lose my livelihood over this, that will be a great day, because actually, if you think about it logically, I shouldn't have to do what I do. That is chop about a normal digestive system just to get the weight problem to go away. That shouldn't be a job.
Yeah, it's very,
but it's
very
the only
strong
thing that really works at the moment, until these drugs came along and basically made it less necessary to do it for lesser degrees of weight loss. So less than 4 stone, take the drugs. More than 4 stone, think about surgery.
Yeah, I hear you. Definitely hear you. So if that's the case, if there's so many different hormone peptides that affect our digestive system, what was it about GLP-1 initially in the early stages that all the companies jumped on, or both the companies jumped on and said, right, that's the one we have to target. That's the one we've got to go for?
I think the reason for that was when they looked at why surgery was successful in the first place. Some very clever researchers like Rachel Batterham, who was the professor of obesity medicine at University College. Rachel looked at what hormones change after surgery, and she looked at this spectrum of hundreds of different ones and looked at the height of what the biggest changes after bariatric surgery, and went, well, those are the ones that change the most, so let's look at those first, and where they're acting on the brain mainly. And GLP-1 came up as one of the top ones. There were other ones that we looked at, and they just picked the ones that seemed most likely, and GLP-1 was one of the prime candidates, and that's what they focused on. But we now know it's a whole orchestra of different peptide hormones that change after surgery, and it may be they need to add in a few more to a cocktail, if you like, to have the best effect, because hormones don't just add on to each other. Sometimes they multiply the effects of themselves when you get the right combination.
Yeah.
It's a bit like the difference between having a shot of spirit and a cocktail. Adding in the extra bits doesn't just make it a little bit nicer, it makes it much nicer.
But we will state, for some people.
For some people,
Yeah.
allegedly.
Yeah. That's brilliant. So we've got a lot to look forward to then. I mean, that makes
Yeah.
sense. I mean, I know you kind of joked about potentially losing your surgery business, but I'm not sure that will ever be the case, because they really will need to come up with a drug, a concoction of hormone peptides that they can tackle that will give the same results as surgery. But more importantly, regardless of how much your surgery might cost for people that are obese, more than 4 stone overweight, it's a one-off cost. You pay it, you pay no more. With weight loss drugs, it's a big chunk of money that goes out of your bank account every single month, effectively, for life. And when you weigh it up, you will spend a lot more money on the drugs than you would on surgery, basically, as it stands today anyway. So
As it stands today, that's quite right. And I think, unfortunately, hospital costs in the UK are such that the regulatory system, the employment costs, etc., means that surgery is expensive, no question. It's cheaper in Turkey, it's cheaper abroad, because they just don't have the regulatory system.
yeah,
But in many respects, they don't have the quality either.
no, the risks are
But
higher.
it's that, well, you're just walking into an unknown. It's a bit like taking your car into an unknown garage in an unknown town and going, fix it for me.
Yeah,
And you've got
Yeah.
no idea what they're really going to do.
yeah,
Whereas if you take it to a local garage with a reputation, with a track record, with published reviews, you go, actually, they're going to fix it for me. It's pretty certain it's going to be fixed. And again, when it comes to your body, you only want it doing once properly.
absolutely.
Are you prepared to take the gamble?
Yeah, you definitely don't need the headaches of complications after major surgery, that's for sure. Sure, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time. I know you're a very busy man. I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and obviously you can find all of Shaw's contact details in the show notes. Please comment, like it. We enjoy having you with us. Thank you very much for listening. I'm Mel Harris. This has been the Keto Podcast. See you next time.